Hola a todos. Um, Hello to my students. Hello to anyone on the internet watching this because they like poetry and they stumbled across this video. This is a review for my class to use. They have a big test on poetry coming up. I think they all know that. It's it's not going to be easy, but it shouldn't be that hard because we've gone over everything in class that we need to go over. We had a review the other day in class. I'm posting this so that you guys can use. You don't have to, but I think it would be to your benefit. I'm posting this review on Scansion because we did have a full day devoted to Scansion. However, it's probably the most difficult part of interpreting poetry, and it's pretty essential. So I just want to go over a quick few points, of reminders, because you will have to scan a poem on your own on this test. I know it's scary, but I really think you guys can do it. You're all a great class. You're all smart. So let's go over this. We talked about in class. The basics of the English language is iambic. Iambic is the sound of two syllables next to each other that rise. So one syllable is da, the next one next is da. Da, da. It's in a rising pattern. Iambic. Da, da. So, thou mayst in me behold. That's some lines from a Shakespeare sonnet that we'll be going over shortly. It's written in iambic pentameter, like mostly all Shakespearean sonnets are. Mostly all sonnets are mainly in iambic pentameter. That's not to say that they can't switch it up, because poetry is about expressing oneself and getting out emotions, and it's hard to get out emotions when you're using the same syllable pattern every time, the sing-songy iambic pentameter. However, it is the most natural and it is the most used. So take note of that, because on a test, you will have to tell me the difference between Shakespearean sonnets and Petrarchan sonnets. We went over that in class. So you can definitely talk about the use of iambic pentameter being used more commonly in Shakespearean sonnets. So, next is trochaic. Basically the opposite of iambic. It starts up here and goes down here, like falling. The pattern is falling. Falling. Trochaic. Da, 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 falling. So it's pretty simple. The next is anapestic. Not quite as common as iambic or trochaic. However, it can still be used. It's like iambic, except it has three syllables, and there are two low syllables and a high syllable. So da da da, da da da. Anapestic. Da da da. When you're in class, when you're taking your test, say that quietly to yourself. Say anapestic. Da da da. And that way you'll know. The next is dactylic, which is the opposite of anapestic. It starts with a high syllable and goes too low. Da, 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 da. I think that's, pretty easy to understand. But like I said, when you're in class and you're taking your test, feel free to, make these sounds. I know they sound weird, but they're actually useful. And when you're reading a word that you can't really figure out, over-exaggerate it. Exaggerate the word to figure out what scheme it has. Figure out if it's iambic, trochaic, anapestic, dactylic. Say da da da, well, that's trochaic, or da da, iambic. Pretty simple. The next, I think, is the easiest to grasp, but one of the most important. Spondaic. Spondaic is so important because it's the focal point for poets. When they have a whole poem of iambic pentameter, then all of a sudden they throw in a spondy, which is two syllables next to each other with equal stress. Like, oh God, then it's spondaic, and that they are pointing out an emotion. Maybe they're frustrated, they're excited, they're sad about something. I always picture like they're yelling at the paper. So, oh God, it's a straight line across, no change in stress. When you're doing an explication, you should definitely note if you see a spondaic. So let's look at some scansion. I've scanned a few lines of Shakespeare's Sonnet 73, one of his most famous probably my favorite out of all of the 154 sonnets. It's pretty easily understandable. It's a theme of life and death, and which is a common thing among his sonnets. And as a Shakespearean sonnet will be, it is an iambic pentameter, as you can see. That time of year thou mayst in me behold. You hear that rise when I'm talking? That time of year thou mayst in me behold. So that's strictly iambs, and there are 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is iambic pentameter. If there were 4 of them, it would be iambic tetrameter. And if there were 6, it would be iambic hexameter. You can find these all in the handout I gave you guys in class. But in Shakespearean sonnet, it's generally going to be iambic pentameter. So, when yellow leaves or none or few do hang, when yellow leaves or none or few do hang, I think you can hear that. That's iambic pentameter. It's like that throughout the whole poem. We could analyze the rhyme scheme, but let's do that. Let's analyze the rhyme scheme. So right here in these first 4 lines, we have A, B, A, B. A, B, A, B. And as we talked about in class, Shakespearean sonnets are generally A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and a heroic couplet at the end called the turn, G, G. So that will be important to note in any poetry explication of a Shakespearean sonnet, because the turn at the end is like the answer to the problem that he is setting up with all the other rhyme schemes. So that's very clear to note. You should review your notes from class on sonnets and poetry explication. But I just wanted to post this video to make sure you guys got a little refresher on Scansion. I know we did it towards the beginning of the unit, but it's really important, and it's going to be on the test. So good luck on your studying, guys, and I will see you in class.